easy road. I'm in the city, I'm a the guitar, so they think I better rose. We say, who feels it knows? Ooh, Lord, every song steady flows. I cry, it's not an easy road. I'm in the city, I'm a the guitar, so they think I better rose. We say, who feels it knows? Ooh, Lord, every song steady. Why? From the minute of birth to enter this world, let you work to overcome us. Throughout every day, they seem to get worse. Oh my God, cast away this curse. Everybody are trying to make every issue anywhere that they endeavor. That God you see, no matter what the world may say out of string, once I will survive, won't accept defeat. Now I'm weary. It's not an easy road. I'm in the city, I'm a the guitar, so they think I better rose to say, who feels it close? Ooh, Lord, every sustain these close. I cry, it's not an easy road. I'm in the city, I'm a the guitar, so they think I better rose to say, who feels it close? Ooh, Lord, every sustain these close. Why you rise to see the sun? Who you over for your love? Try into this bed if you work you have done. From that satisfied with the post of alive. From the stripes and forests, you got to stay wide. Hold on the headlines, say not both sides. How we are not disappear, free your life. Righteousness prevail, it's up by my side. Show them from the way, you're living to die. It was hard, a Papa Janai. Hold on my head and pride. I tell you now, it's not an easy road. Oh no, it's not an easy road. I tell you, it's not an easy road. Oh no.
Yes, greetings. That's up, Andrea. That's up, Sandra.
Morning with such an heavy load. No, it's no and I got no more to put down my hurt alongside the road. Oh my God, you hold it. Yeah, I got to open myself like a child. Up my face, I've got to put up a smile.
I share this one, especially with your friends in Jamaica. Hey, what's up, Len?
It's not an easy road. I'm in the city, I'm a so they think I better rose. They say, who feels it close? Ooh, Lord, every song steady close. It's not an easy road. I'm in the city, I'm a so they think I better rose. They say, who feels it close? Ooh, Lord, every song steady.
Hope everybody doing well. I don't see any thumbs up or any hearts. Make sure you know the audio is working all right. Let me know. All right. Greetings. Welcome to Watagwan. My name is Donovan Simon. I'm the president for the Jamaican Canadian Association Alberta, based in Calgary. And Watagwan is our way of connecting to the community, talking about things that are happening in our association, things that are happening in our country, things that are happening in Jamaica, things that are happening in the world. And for May, we've been talking about social issues. And today we're going to touch at an interesting one, a hot one, crime in Jamaica. Why? And how do we solve it? But of course, before we get into the meat of the discussion, we're going to do the features of Watagwan, some staples. And Patois word of the day. The Patois word of the day, and this one go back way back, is fene. So you have to really come from country or some of you know the fene thing. So like my mom would say something like, if you touch it, you're fene. Or if you think you're bad, touch it, right? And you're fene. So for those who understand what the Patois word of the day means, fene, put it in the comment section. So those who don't understand the Patois or beautiful language that we do speak in Jamaica, they can get a little feel of it. All right. What is coming up? There are lots of things that are happening and we want to share. On the 22nd, we're going to have another virtual games night. Of course, COVID restrictions continue in many parts of Alberta. So we've got to keep things virtual. So at 7 p.m., we're going to jump on Zoom and we're going to have another games night. It's good for the entire family. Come on, have some fun with us. I don't know what the lineup of games are this week, but I tell you, are next week. But it has been a blast every time I jump on. So jump on and let's have some fun together, right? And break up some of the monotony and boredom of all these restrictions that are going on with COVID. The week after, we're going to be having our monthly general meeting. Again, we're going to be doing it via Zoom. So on the 29th, it's at 7 p.m. The link is going to be in our weekly newsletter or on our different social media platforms and our website. We also want to share that another Getting Your Affairs in Order webinar is happening on the 27th at 7 p.m. This is an interesting webinar that talks about preparing for the inevitable, looking at key documents and other processes that you need to put in place. So jump on their social media platform, either Facebook or Instagram, look for Getting Your Affairs in Order, and get some information about some key things that everybody should know and should put in place, right? We also want to make everybody aware that the JCAA will be issuing scholarships this year. Our scholarship application process is open. Jump on our website. We've got 4 scholarships scheduled to be issued out this year, hopefully 5, because we have another idea that we want to implement. The criteria are on our page, jcalberta.com. Go there. The forms that you need to fill out are also there. Make the most of these scholarships. We also want to share that the Calgary Black Chambers is issuing about 15 scholarships this year. So if you're in a tertiary institution, if you are from the Black community, granted it's not exclusive, it's for everybody, but jump onto the Calgary Black Chambers site. The deadline for application is the 15th of June. There are a range of scholarships that are available. If you know somebody, share it with them so that they can go out and apply for these scholarships. Of course, we want to keep talking about our Helping Hands program. This is where you can help us with our building project, right? We are getting our building space ready for full use. Of course, because of the COVID restrictions, we haven't launched fully, right? The space is getting there, but we have our Helping Hands program where you can be a donor, you can get your decal on the donor wall, you can be featured on Wataguan, on our social media, and on our website. There are different categories. If you're a member, of course, we're going to say put your name on the wall, right? And if you're a business person or just somebody who wants to support a community initiative, jump on and help us with the Helping Hands program. I continue to talk about this project that is a part of our building project, which is our library. We want to build the single largest collection of Jamaican and Afro-Caribbean books in Canada. So we've got a space dedicated in this building for books. So if you are a writer, if you've got books that you want to donate, touch base with us, and we will be more than happy to add these to our collection, acknowledge you for it, but more importantly, have this facility available for our community, right? Books for the young, books for adults, books in all different genres. We want to build the single largest collection of Jamaican and Afro-Caribbean books in Canada. That's an ambitious goal, we know that. To touch base with us, jump on our website, jcalberta.com, send us an email. If you want to call us, there's our phone number. And of course, we're on social media. So jump on any of these social media handles and send us a message and we will be more than happy to respond. Greetings to everybody who's jumping on. I see Clarence, I see Glenn. I want to say big up, welcome to the program. Share this one, please, so that most people, Lily, yeah, here we go, greetings. What we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about a social issue, but we're going to go to the yard We're going to talk about crime in Jamaica. And before we jump into the discussion, you know, I've got Dr. Rupert Francis, I've got Jehan Dunbar waiting in the wings. I want to make sure I put out a disclaimer, especially for those who are non-Jamaicans who are going to watch this either live or recorded. When we talk about crime in Jamaica, one of the things I said to people is that crime in Jamaica should be treated no different, especially if you're going there for a visit, as if you're going to New York City, right? There are areas that are fantastic. There are areas that have low crime rates, but there are areas that are known and have crime rates, and you go there with caution. Jamaica is a fantastic place to visit. We've got great culture, great food, great music, great people, great beaches, and a few other things that you know, we can list as cultural artifacts, right? But yes, there is crime, and today we're going to kind of give it a Jamaican flavor, Jamaican feel, and talk about it with some Jamaicans, one who lives on the rock and one who no longer lives on the rock, but the rock lives within him, right? I'm going to bring them on screen, Dr. Rupert Francis and Jehan Dunbar. Greetings, Rupert. Smile, man.
Greetings, my friend. How are you doing? I'm all right.
I am good. I see you have a coconut tree. Which part of Jamaica are you?
Always under the banyan tree. And if me not go on it, me go and fenny. And fenny blue.
You granted I say it on Fenny, right?
No, fenny blue, which is worse.
All right. Jehan, how are you?
I'm all right. Thank you for asking.
All right, cool, brethren. Thank you both for joining to get into the discussion, right? And maybe where I start off, and you know, for those who are watching, that Dr. Francis is a you know, what should I say, has been involved in so many different things, but one of the things that he has done is been the chair of the crime task force for the, Rupert, you've got, describe this properly for me. It's the Jamaica Diaspora Crime Prevention Task
and Prevention Task Force.
All right.
The name was selected purposely to indicate that this is not just crime fighting, but crime intervention and prevention. And I think that's what is missing in the equation in many countries. We do not focus on the intervention, prevention. We just focus on the hard policing, which is, you know, the baton and whatever else it is.
Yeah. All right. So let us set up the discussion by first of all, kind of looking at this whole issue of the stats. Now we hear the numbers all the time. You know, some go up, some go down. When you're looking at it, Dr. Francis, like, what are some of the key indicators that reasonably we should be using to assess the situation when we're talking about crime in Jamaica?
Well, you know, I began this whole mission of trying to resolve the crime issues about 7 years ago in this particular role with the Crime Task Force. It's in USA, Canada, and the UK at the moment. And we have registered about maybe 2,000 members, but we could fill that up in any time. We have people who are, you know, carrying the message in various localities, both in all three, Jamaica, USA, Canada, and in fact, UK. Now, we began by looking at it, and the mission states that we are trying to do a holistic or eclectic view of crime. In other words, it's a all-encompassing thing from the womb to the tomb, literally, and it encompasses everything. We don't look at a criminal and say he was born a criminal. You know, there are three things. You got born, or by a psychosocial event, really. And we believe that some persons are socialized in their own environment. And so based upon that, we gathered a group of people who were law enforcement. Some were sociologists, psychologists, teachers, educators, a whole range of persons to see if we could intervene, because we felt that we should start with the young and to make sure, because when we were growing up, we had to, you know, follow the precepts of what was going on. We had civics, had to learn the Jamaican national motto. We had to do certain things while we were in school, and we had to stand to the attention at the singing of the national. As a Boy Scout, And so that helped me a lot. And I still remember the precepts of that. I think much of this has gone. And also families, we need to get families back together to work in a family, whether you're a single parent family or, whatever. In my days, they used to take a village to raise a child. And now we are trying to recreate some of these things as we look at it. We have experts in hard policing too, because we have people who are former members of the FBI, former members of the LAPD, NYPD, etc. But we are concentrating on building the human, the whole, as Gestalt would say, the whole person, not just a part of the person. So that's how we see crime in its own genesis. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, there's the tendency to assess it, especially the people who blow up social media all the time on the latest clip, the latest murder, even though in recent times there seems to be a lot of some gruesome things and a lot of people seeing all kinds of things showing all over the place. And Jan, I'm going to come to you because you are in Jamaica, you are seeing it. And for those who don't know, Jan is a student at the University of the West Indies, Mona, second year doing politics and economics. And who knows, maybe one day becomes the Prime Minister of this big problem to solve. But Jan,
not wrong with that, Jan, that's good.
When you, and also I want to bring out a different generation, because, Rupert go a little bit further back. But it's good to get the multiple perspectives. When you look at it, living there, seeing what is happening, what's your take on the crime situation?
All right. To be honest, my take on the crime situation in Jamaica, why I believe is that it stems from social problems. I mean, because persons who normally tend to deviate to crime, they think that their voice are not being heard. They're not being listened to. Art. I know there was what should I say this now? There was a recent news as it pertains to a man who actually went to NCU. That's CMU, sorry, Caribbean Maritime University, and I think he graduated in 2008 with a diploma in logistics. And he was saying on the news that after he tried to seek jobs and he hasn't been getting any, and up to this day he still hasn't received any call as it pertains to the degree that he actually went to school to study. So he's actually doing some work right now that is not fitted to what he actually went to university to study. And when I realized there are the cases like this, and it normally deters us as university students to wondering why are we actually going to university? And it's because of cases like this where we actually go to school and we come out and realize that we can't get in a job. These are some of the persons who actually tend to deviate to criminal activities. So criminal activities, it normally stems from persons who actually come from backgrounds where you have low standards of living, where they're not getting enough pay as for to be specific. They're not getting enough money, and they think that the government aren't listening to them. So to be honest, my perspective as it relates to crime, it can be dealt with better. It can be dealt with better. And the government really need to, they actually have some initiatives that they put in place as it regards to helping to stem the crime level, but it's not going to be that effective if what should I say this now? If the incentive to create to deviate to criminal activities is not slashed in half, because with everything, you have to have an incentive to continue to do it over and over again. And for persons to be doing criminal activities on a constant basis, they have to be getting something from it. So that needs to be slashed in half so that they will stop committing criminal activities. So that's where I feel that the government should tackle.
That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one. Hold on, Jane. I want to come back to that because you're talking a little bit about culture, and Rupert is a psychology expert. Rupert, is crime now so cultural that people don't notice it And is it all, we were talking about social reformation earlier. How does that fit into the equation based on what Gian is saying?
Well, here's what, John, you're a millennial. I have a daughter who's millennial, and I can't understand her, and but I'm understanding you. But I'm only messing with you, John. The point I'm trying to make is this, that nothing is cut and dry. A man goes to school, CMU, I know the school, and he gets a diploma. That does not give him the job, He has to prepare himself for the job, okay? And the question is, has that person prepared themselves to be employed? Have they done the work to present themselves in a particular way? Now, I know that there are barriers. I know that. If you're on a certain address, you might not be seen, etc., etc. However, though, I would like to suggest that we should have a program where we groom our people to go into the job market, because some people come in and say, what a guan, you cannot do that when you're going for a job. Although we love it here now, that we what a guan is. You understand me? You have to present yourself in sort of. Now, there are barriers. Now, another thing too is this, that there are other things, that incentives that should be given to the young people. I agree with that, okay? But also there's influence from outside and personal responsibility. If you have not yourself been taught how to behave and how to present yourself and how to speak. My forte is not only psychology, but public speaking. And so I love to teach people or work with people how to present themselves. And one of the things that I'm known for is that I try my best to think of others when I'm speaking and put others in my own place. And I would give a youngster a chance, because without giving a youngster a chance, we're cutting the umbilical cord and throwing it away. You see? So I understand what you're saying, but understand this. What I would do if I were you, future Prime Minister J.N. Dunbar, what I would do is I would go back to my dorm, sit down with all my peers, investigate ways and means of impressing the hiring public, so that when you get your degree, not only are you knowledgeable, but you are presentable, okay? And that will take you much further, okay? And don't care if some people laugh at you and say, boy, you're going weird. No, you need to do this, because unfortunately, some people, do you know that people with tattoos do not hire people with tattoos in the United States? They're discriminating against themselves. So I'm saying to you, and I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you as my friend thinks, I'm simply trying to say to you that if you want something in Jamaica, let's say your nose have to run, you have to put in the work for it. That's all I'm saying. So I agree with you. Disenchantment can come from that, but that does not mean you have to take it out in violence. You have to learn how not to do that, because that's an antisocial behavior.
Let's go down that road a little bit with both of you, of crime, in my view, and crime occurs in all different ways, Crime occurs because there's a criminal code for different things. So crime is not just murder, right? Happens all over the place. Is there too low a barrier or too high a level of social acceptance of crime, which then keeps it going on, right, in a particular way? So for example, speeding. Right? People just drive on, there's a certain level of recklessness that occurs on the road, and it's fine. Corruption, right? Every man wants a blind. So Jan, is there too high a level of social acceptance of certain behaviors in Jamaica, which then lead to that? What's your take?
All right. My take on that is that I think there is no too low or too high, because what I'm realizing is that persons are, even though but it is right to not accept crime. In some ways, you have persons actually accepting it, because in Jamaica, they have a culture where, as it pertains to informants. So
that's informer for death.
yeah, basically. So they have the view that they don't like these kind of persons. So you actually have songs that speaks about these type of persons, and you'll have criminal activities being done against persons like this, and you have persons who know about it, some persons who know about it, and they don't say anything about it because they actually have this, as I said, there's a stigma that inform of death, as you said a while ago. So when persons see criminal activities being done against persons who were informants, they tend to turn a blind eye. So as I said, it is right to not endorse criminal activities, but in some cases you have persons doing it. I don't know if it's unconsciously, but to a small degree. So,
Rupert, what is your take? Because
my take is this: listen, we have to look at the evolution of crime in Jamaica. In 1962, 1960 something, can't remember, but it was the murder total was about 15. By the time we reached 1970, it was nearly 250. By the end of the 1970s, it was 900 to 1,000. Then in the 1980s, went to about 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, 1,600, almost went to 2,000, and so it's now back down to 13 something per year. That is murder itself. That does not include the other crimes. I saw the other evening, for example, Preda loss is a big crime in Jamaica. And when I saw a man use a taxi and thief about 40 goats. 40 goats in a little white.
It don't want taxi.
Can you imagine? They impact the goats until two died. And I'm saying to you, how can a man have a heart like that to go and take away people's living, right? They don't intend to work. No, there's an issue also of the music. There's an issue also of the movies that they're watching, and they all think that they're shutters and so on. So the whole thing is flawed, has gotten flawed, and we really need to bring it back, because I am telling you, informer today, it's really a big problem.
All right, so let's talk about bringing it back. But before we bring it back, let's speak to the role of the politics in the mix of all of this. And Gian, you're a young man, but you see it. You see the polarity of the politics. What is your opinion on the role of politics and political leadership in this whole dilemma? Go ahead, Gian. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh. All right. There you have this saying that preach what you teach. The government is of the view that the government is in fight against crime and corruption. So they preach that, they teach that. But yet still some of them aren't implementing their whole teaching by themselves, because in the governmental system, you have persons who are corrupt, and you have cases where persons actually were imprisoned because of corruption. So they're of the view that crime should be reduced. Crime is wrong, but at the end of the day, they're committing crime themselves. So they are setting a bad example for the society. So if they want to reduce crime, why do it same way? Why I'm being corrupt? As I said, it's all, I believe that you have unsatisfied greed, like persons can't satisfy. So I think that's one of the main reasons that led to, because even recently you have a case where an NCB manager who was embezzling money from, I think, 2017 up until now. It was since recently she got arrested. She got caught and arrested, and it was a case where she was pulling in, I think $900 and something thousand a month. So with amount of money like that, you can actually do a lot of things on a monthly basis, and yet you still see the need to go and stealing money from the bank. So, as I said, persons, especially the government, they they want to stop crime, but you still have some of them not taking the that they're preaching. They're not following the same thing that they're trying to preach. And that is a big problem because persons in this society are looking on them and saying that if they're doing it, why can't I do it too? So that gives them some form of motivation to actually continue to do their criminal activities, and the crime rate just keep getting higher and higher.
Yeah.
So
Rupert, let me bring you in on this because, back in the 1980s, we had some interesting political elections, and the increase in the crime rate from then, for a while anyway, was directly connected or related to what was happening in the politics.
Yes.
At some point, we grew past that.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the government lost control and the political directorate lost control of it socially, and therefore really can't really influence it that much anymore?
I think that this is a great influence on the current situation. Yes, they've lost control. I think of some of these things that would cause the crime to have blown out of proportion. Political will, for example, and political crimes have been, are there. It's out there. There's nothing you're going to do to stop it unless the higher ups decide to stop it. So it's a big deal. And I don't think that they've completely lost control, but they are at that point where we have to wonder where we are going. Because I tell you something, this is not just happening in Jamaica. This is happening throughout the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I heard that in Barbados, just recently, I was on a program that people who are known gang members put on them suit and go into parliament with parliamentarians.
Yeah.
And I know that had happened in Jamaica too.
Well, look at what happened in Washington.
Well, yeah. So I'm just saying, we have to be so very careful, and we have to focus on see how we can best gain back that sort of sense of decency that we had previously in order to move forward in this life.
How do we get that? And I want to throw that out to both of you. Young Jayon coming up, right? Rupert as a seasoned campaigner. How do we regain back some moral authority over our culture and over our society, where the message of wrong and right, at least at a social level, can be seen, understood, and accepted? Jayon, let me start with you as a youngster in the mix here. How do we get that message back?
All right. First, in my point of view, how they can get it back. Well, first you have to appeal to the need. If you want to get something out of someone, you have to appeal to their needs. So there has to be an initiative where persons, they actually listen to what is going on in someone's life, and based on the situation that they're going to try to solve their problem. Because at the end of the day, to get success, you have to solve a problem. So they have to analyze persons, find out what is actually going on in their life, and try as best as possible to solve those needs. And once those needs are met, they won't have any incentive to deviate and do other things that will negatively affect the society. So there has to have there needs to be initiatives where persons feel that their voice are heard, that they do matter. Because as I said, that's one of the cases where persons tend to deviate to criminal activity because they feel like the government is against them. They feel like no one is listening to them. And these are the persons that normally come from, poor backgrounds, because they feel like the government is actually paying mind to persons of higher class, of higher social class. So the ones in the lower hierarchy of the society feel neglected. So, and they're the ones that are actually being deviant. So the government needs to realize this and actually implement strategies to target these people, find out what is going on in their lives, see to their needs, and try to meet those needs, so that these persons won't have any motivation or incentive rather to actually go ahead and carry out activities that will, at the end of the day, damage the reputation of the society and the society overall. So yeah.
Yeah, Rupert, is there that possibility?
Yes, there, like what Jan just did is just exhibited one of the most important things called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We all have needs as youngsters, as people. And the set of needs on our is literally physiological needs: food, shelter, clothing. All right. And if we're not getting that, we're gonna seek it wherever we can get it. Because it's human nature. If it's not there, we're gonna try to take it. Okay, we're gonna seek it, right? So if these things are not being provided for a child, that child is going to learn to steal from somebody else or so on. So we have to be careful about that, how we set that those needs. But food, shelter, clothing is the most. We hear it all the time. The second is the safety needs. What are those needs that, your job, your education, that sort of thing. A child cannot grow up, and be quote unquote normal if they don't have that. I remember when I was as 3, I know you don't think I can remember back to 3 years old, but I remember as if it was yesterday. And I'm quite, far away from that. And I wanted to go to school so badly, but I was only 3. I wasn't even 3 yet. And I was telling my mother, I want to go to that school that about, ABC every day. That's all I did, ABC, but I wanted to go to that school so bad. I wanted to put on that uniform, that khaki. I had no shoes, but that's what I wanted to do. By the time I got to 3, and I got there, my needs kind of changed again. Now I want to go further. So you see, on the hierarchy again, until you get onto, the love and so on and so forth needs, and until you get right up to the pyramid. What I'm trying to say to you, so it's totally right, to find a way of reaching people from they're young. Mm-hmm. And then we have to groom them. They say, train up the child in the way it must go, and when it's old, do not depart. It is true. Anybody who tells that the Bible is not true, something's wrong with them, because it is there. And I'm not talking Christianity, I'm just talking a book that has some facts that you should follow.
Yeah, wisdom.
Yes, wisdom and understanding. So, and some people don't figure that out, but I do. And said, and then after that, you have to say to yourself now, how can we as a society, listen, I know of a group of people, you see, in Negril Educational Trust. I may have leave of Educational Trust. It's run by a man named Mr. Wellington. And what he has done is he takes some children out of the group of the society. Let's say about 30 children. And he has them for 8 weeks, right? They're school age and so on. But he has them in this where he teaches them certain principles. He can best explain it himself, right? But the parents must be there. At least one parent must be there. And I'm telling you, in that area of Negril, there's no crime. No crime.
Yeah, but that's a one parent making that commitment, right? But when you in a community where there's a Don who take care of the kids, you don't know where the Don get your money from, but you know him as a Don, and so boy, him possibly have a few ways of making it happen, right? Isn't there the tendency to gravitate towards that ease and that simplicity? Isn't that part of what is driving some of the craziness that is happening out there?
Let me say this to you. Common sense is a hell of a thing, but it's not common. But when I was a youngster, and I was even 3, 4, 5 years old, I remember, I don't know if I told you, but I never had any toys. I was upset. I used to hear about toys, but I never had one. I see children, because the tourists used to come through, mm-hmm. There it was. And you could see them with all these fandangos, and I never had one. So I want to get one. And the only way I knew how was to try to work and get. That's what I saw people doing. And I did that. And I went to the beach, and all I'm saying to you have to find something. No, I know in the ghetto it's a little bit different, but I'm saying to you, I know good people who came out of the ghetto. I have some relatives who lived in the ghetto and their children. It's like a question that I think that we have to focus on families in Jamaica. And no matter what type of family, we have to get them back to the stage where they look after the youngsters, because they let the children go and they're like Lego beasts. Let's just be quite honest with you. Okay? And they send them out there to work too and pimp and do all sorts of things. So, if there's no structure, and I'm from a very poor community, and I've seen people come. My friend, who's an FBI agent right now, he came out of Waterhouse. Another was commissioner of police. He came out of Jonestown. In the midst of all that. You understand what I'm saying to you? So, Jay, just understand this. We have a job to do. We have to, the churches, everybody has a job to do. We have to help our brothers rise. That's what we need to do. We can't leave them behind.
And I want to go down that social path of, what is the role of organizations, social organizations, and the diaspora to a certain extent, Rupert, and I'll come to you back for that. But Jen, when you look around,
I want to say something though before you go there. I want to say Herbert Gill, Professor Herbert Gill at the University of Jan. He is the top violence prevention person in the West Indies. And he gave me a statistic I have to let you know before you hit Mr. Jayan again. That when in 1962 at the University of the West Indies, out of every 100 students, 60 or 70 of them were boys and 30 were women. By the time 1970 came along, the reverse was 200 women to every 50 men, and went on, never improved. I don't know if he tell in his class how many women are there or how many men, right? And so what has happened is that they focus, our government's success, focus on the women and left the men behind. So the men had to fend for themselves. And then they go out and they find other things to do, right? And so that's why we are having the big problem. And this Professor Gale, I have the statistics I can send to you. Okay, go ahead.
Hold on, before I go to Jen. So the man who was driving the taxi with the 40 goat is a man, right?
Yes. So what you do now, he got thief the goat them, sell the goat them, and send the woman to school. And when she left him after she come from school, him chop her up.
All right, Rupert. Jen, let's not go down that road, but let's talk about the social structure and the role it plays in being a part of the solution. Where do you think the church and other social organizations fit into this whole equation?
All right, I think every organization, every aspect of the society plays a vital role. Every component of the society plays a vital role in how it is run. At the end of the day, with the body, every organ of your body is important. So as it relates to the social organizations, I think they play a very vital role, especially with the churches, because churches, they tend to reach out to persons on a emotional and a psychological level. So they appeal to persons' need. So with persons realizing that they tend to open up to persons who actually listen to them, who actually appeal to them on an emotional level. As it relates to social organization, I think they actually play a vital role as well, because they implement initiatives that will actually allow persons to engage with each other and promote unity amongst persons of the society. So like they implement programs like sporting activities, because sporting with sports play a very important role in stemming criminal activities and promoting unity, because you have to work with each other on sports teams. So with persons, with initiatives like these, you have persons focusing less on criminal activities and focusing more on the task at hand, like the activities, because they have to give their all to actually come out on top to be winners. So they won't have the mind to go and to be thinking about or store me I go rob again tomorrow, which store me I go rob tomorrow, or anything like that. They'll be thinking.
Jen, hold on. On a serious note, there is either production of those who are doing the wrongs at a greater rate than the production of those that are engaging in sports and not doing something. Because the equation seems, in my view, to be unbalanced. You still have more youth seemingly at unshutter, right? And I do all kind of nonsense, right? Than the youth who preach unity, not to mention the fact that after all these years of prayer and prayer breakfast and all the rest of it, right? Somehow there seems to be an ineffectiveness in these social organizations to get people to not do the things that are criminal. Like, am I getting it wrong, Rupert? Like,
yeah, I think that what he's just said is sports is absolutely, by the way, a way of intersection or intervention or prevention. It really is. However, what you said is quite right. People think that murder is a sport, so they practice murder. I mean, look, a guy said, he followed a lady up and, and went up to her and said, me like, sister, but you have not bad trouble, not trouble. Give her money now, she give me $1,000. Anyway, he said, nobody for right after them because guess what now? We can do it for like a 1,500 or 2,000 bills, and I'm sure they're gone, Right? So to those guys, it is like having an ice cement. It's nothing. So how did they get to that point? Because they don't know the value of life. And I think that one of the things also we have been culpably doing, and I'm sorry, I'm a kind of a death penalty advocate, okay? The reason let me just tell you point blank, the reason I am for that. My view is, like the other day, if you can walk up to a man, believe me, I've never seen a man drop so fast. They walk up to the man, they shot him in his head, and he was dead. Not even a second in the boom. And they rob him and run through his pocket and all that sort of. What can possess somebody? Just take somebody, just like that. Okay? They didn't know they were going to lose theirs in a few minutes up the road. But the point I'm trying to make is, what I call that is dog heart. That you're so incensed. Me, I was in the military, and I've seen a lot of deaths. I've been to more funerals than many people hope to be. I've spoken to them maybe about 5,000. The point I'm trying to make is this. It's never a pleasant thing. Although of a Pocomania funeral, you enjoy yourself, you don't really worry about what's going on. But
funeral a big thing before COVID, man.
Exactly. So you really enjoy yourself at a funeral.
Yeah.
Especially with a good one. But the point I'm trying to make is that we're talking about somebody being elderly who has passed on and you're celebrating their life. I don't want to make anybody think I'm demeaning funerals. I believe in celebrating one's life, not only after they've gone on, but before they have gone on. Give me flowers before. But anyway, back to the story. So here you have an insensitivity going on. When I went to school, if a guy said to you, Sefe, don't Sefe, don't say it, because he's going to juke you with a pencil, right? Those people you avoid. So I'm just trying to say to you, it has evolved now as a Sefe mentality. Sefe, and I shot you. Sefe, I never tell my father. And nowadays, even teachers in the school are afraid of the parents.
Well, everybody afraid of everybody, it seems, If a man out the road, I mean, you live on a certain road, I grew up in a little town in St. Catherine, or from a little town in St. Catherine. And when I go back home, every little lane now have a Don. Yeah. And I'm amused at the thought, because I'm like, 25 people live down the road. They're like, what do you need a Don for? So I'm going to go to Gian on this one, because Gian, one of the things that I'm curious about is how we see this whole structure and whether or not it truly leads to fear or we become immune to the fear, right? So life is what it is, we go on. And another thing I'd love for you to give a perspective on is, I always say that crime is not random. There's always a story behind it. So therefore, if I don't have a story, I just keep moving. What's your view?
All right, so I believe persons actually know that crime is wrong, but you have persons who are not going to say anything because of fear, because they know that if they do talk, even if they do it anonymously, somewhere, somehow, they think to feel, they're going to feel that the person is going to find out and they're going to suffer for that. As I said, the whole informant thing. So persons want to speak out against criminal activities. They witness some criminal activities, they know about some, but they're reluctant to say anything because of fear. So you'll have criminal activities going on and persons see it and they will choose not to say anything about it just because of fear.
All right, and from a solution perspective, and we're getting to wrap up here. Can we fix this 20 years from now when you're a prime minister? Like, what do you think it's going to look like? What do you think it's going to take to get to a stage where we're not having these mainstream conversations about crime because it is seemingly such a negligible part of our social fabric?
As I said earlier, they just need to appeal to the needs of persons. Persons need to know that they are being heard, that they are noticed, that they are important. And because this is not the case, this is constantly not the case, they feel like the government is against them, they're going to tend to deviate to criminal activities. So as I said, there needs to be more effort as it relates to persons of lower social class. Strategies need to be implemented for these type of persons so that they can be productive, because you have persons who actually wants to be productive, but there's no avenue for them to be productive. There's no opportunity for them, and as a result they have to do other things as a means to get by, as a means to survive. So you have persons who deviate to criminal activities because out of frustration. They're frustrated, they don't know what else to do because they're in their mind what they're going through. There's no other way for them. There's no opportunity for them. There's no other way for them. So as a result, they believe that this is the way in which they have to go to get by. They have to, to make ends meet. And you have some of them who has family, so they have to take care of their family. So they say that they have to do these things so that they can actually provide for their families. So as I said, you have persons who are cold-hearted. No doubt about that. You have persons who are cold-hearted, but you have certain persons, you have certain individuals who actually do criminal activities, as I said, out of frustration because they see that there's no other way out and that they need to make ends meet. So yeah.
You have a whole lot of work to do as Prime Minister. Rupert, next 20 years, like how do we tame this thing? How does it become a non-topic?
Why? When I listen to Jaden, I don't even want to think about the next 20 years. But because yes, he's right in that some people they have to fulfill a need. But I lived in a society prior to this that very little crime, that we depended on our neighbors and everybody worked hard. And I believe that most people are this, that if we train our children to work and respect other people's property and respect themselves, right? It give them good grounding. I think that the majority of them will turn out fine. But if we do not do that, then the type of society will evolve, as Jayan has said. I do believe that people are basically good. Jamaicans have, I never heard, ever since I grew up believing Jamaica safe, and it still is for tourists, but not for each other. How we treat each other, the lack of respect for women, the lack of respect, the respect for money and the worship of money is a serious situation, indictment on our society. And we have to get over that. Okay, because let me say this to you, and I want to wrap up right now. We have to plan ahead. We have to engage with the diaspora and everybody. There are Jamaicans in Jamaica, and I'm saying it out there, that do not believe that people like us who migrate, and all they want from us is money, nothing else. They don't believe that we have any loyalty because we're not. And yet many of them have never worked as hard as we have. Okay, So let me make it quite clear. I have nothing wrong. I love Jamaica. I love Jamaicans. Right? And I fight for them every day. But I'm going to give them the same treatment I got. My mother looked at me and said, I brought you in this world and I will take you the hell out. And I believe her. Okay? I believe her. And until mothers and fathers are willing to do that and be serious, we're not going to change the paradigm.
What I hear you saying, Rupert, as we get to wrap up, is that it possibly all comes right back to the home. It comes right back to the family, it comes right back to the core structure that we're all a part of, right? And if we don't learn it there, and if we don't get it from that root, then we're going to get it from another root. And chances are the outcomes are not going to be what are desirable for the society, right?
And that's true, because at the end of the day, family, the home is the first platform for socialization. So it's actually in the home, it's actually within the family where persons learn to socialize with the society. So if there's no proper upbringing of children, if parents don't take the time to actually root in some core values with in the hearts of their children, then they'll tend to gravitate and actually be swayed by the endeavors of the society. It's because so with families actually rooting in some core values within children, because at the end of the day they'll have to interact with the society. But if the initiative is taken for the family to actually groom the child in the way that he or she should grow, when they actually go into the society, they will actually know right from wrong and actually know how to choose between right and wrong and actually choose the right. So you have, as I said, you have families who don't take the time to do these things. You have families who don't even spend time with their children. And as a result, the children find other means to socialize. They actually turn to school. They actually turn to school as a next means of socialization, as a main form of socialization, for a fact. Because through the school, you have peer pressures, and peer pressure can be bad. So with not getting the right form of socialization from home, they'll tend to focus more on what they can actually get from schools. And as I said, peer pressure, and as I said, peer pressure most times are bad. So they'll focus on these persons who are peer pressuring them into doing something bad as their main source of socialization. And as a result, you have, even in schools, you have gangs and all sorts of things within the school. And they actually are preparing themselves to go into society to form bigger gangs. We're
going to put a wrap on it. Go ahead, Rupert. One last thought.
I didn't grow up with a father. And I promised myself that when I was a father, I'm going to be the best father I ever could be. And I am not saying I did 100% a great job, but I know I did a very, very good job. And I also want to say to my young friend, Jayon, start something at your university. Reach out to us in the diaspora. Let us talk to other young people like you. I like your attitude. And let us see if we can build something that we can get to evolve and spread like wildfire. And perhaps that one little mustard seed may grow into a whole field, and we'll be able to change the paradigm that we're speaking about.
Well, I'm glad you actually had that, because currently I have been elected as the Taylor External Affairs Chairperson. So I will be implementing initiatives where we actually tackle societal issues. So I'll definitely be in contact with both of you as time progresses.
I was in Taylor Hall myself.
I was registered on Taylor Hall and I visited it a few times, not too many, but I went to the University of the West Indies. So, right, and for those who say Champs time, so I have to big up the Seabar.
Oh, you're Calabar, right?
Real school, it, brother.
York.
I tell you. Yeah.
Which school you went to, John?
Dion is a Glenmore guy.
And yeah, I graduated from Glenmore, but I actually went to the Yarcastle High School sixth form program. So both
Yeah,
schools.
and we just had a Rhodes Scholar. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, Dion, Dr. Francis, this has been awesome. Great having you guys on Watagwan discussing crime in Jamaica, how and why and how do we solve it. Thanks for the time and thanks for the contribution. Stay safe. Until next time.
All right, Irie, all the very best. Thank you very much,
All
guys.
right.
Nice. All the best.
Man, thank you for having me. It was
All
a
right,
very
take
engaging
care.
session.
Awesome. Vance, Glenn, as you're talking about Yarcastle. Thanks to everybody who joined and who watched Watagwan. Share this one so others can participate. Next week, we're back again talking about another social issue. We're going to address homelessness, right? It happens even in places like Calgary. We're going to talk about, what to do, how to solve it, and how members of our community can contribute to the solution, right? Join us, of course, on our social platforms, like us on Instagram and Facebook. Check out our website. And for those of us who have some time, or for those of you who have some time next Saturday, 7 o'clock, join us for our family games night at 7 o'clock. Until next week, like I always say, COVID is still around in all kind of different strains and colors. So walk good, stay safe, right? We close with Mr. Buju Banton as always, right? Take care.
I've been never sure.